Los Angeles, California. A city built on ambition, projection, and reinvention. Light defines the skyline here. Neon and reflected glass. Stories are framed, edited, and released. But some moments never made it past the cut. They remain in closed theaters, silent corridors, and buildings designed to be seen but not examined. Tonight we explore locations where the city continues to watch. These are 8 haunted locations of Los Angeles. Built at the center of early Hollywood, the Roosevelt Hotel became a gathering place for actors, executives, and those waiting to be discovered. Opened in 1927, it rose alongside the film industry itself, just steps from the studios shaping Hollywood's first stars. It hosted the first Academy Awards and stood as a threshold between anonymity and public life. The building watched careers begin and end in the same hallways. Studios quietly placed talent here, away from cameras and crowds. The hotel served as a rehearsal space, where public identities were formed in private. Marilyn Monroe once lived here, using a mirror in her suite as a place to rehearse, adjust, and prepare herself for public view. Guests and staff have reported seeing a woman's reflection in mirrors when no one is present. Others describe footsteps moving across the ballroom late at night, slow, measured, as if crossing a stage that no longer hosts an audience. Cold air has been felt near specific rooms, distinct from the rest of the corridor. Some staff members have also reported phones ringing at unattended desks, with no caller on the line, only silence before disconnection. The Roosevelt was built to be watched, to hold people in the moment before they became permanent images. Some believe the building remembers that pause, before recognition, before applause, and that long after the crowds have gone, when the mirrors remain but the faces do not. Something still lingers here, not performing, not asking for attention, only reflecting what once stood there. Los Angeles Union Station, opened in 1939 as the city's primary gateway, built for movement, for departure, for arrival. Its architecture blended different styles: Spanish colonial, Mission Revival, Art Deco, designed to feel welcoming while managing enormous flow. Passengers pass through daily. Soldiers, workers, families. Some leaving temporarily. Some leaving without certainty of return. During World War II, the station became a site of urgency. Troop trains departed continuously. Goodbyes were brief. Instructions were firm. The station did not pause to absorb emotion. It processed movement. Platforms filled, platforms emptied. After the war, travel patterns changed. Airports expanded. Automobiles replaced rail as symbols of freedom. Union Station remained, but movement slowed. Waiting replaced urgency. Benches held fewer people. Announcements echoed longer between trains. Over the years, staff and late-night visitors have reported figures standing near platforms when no trains are scheduled. Footsteps have been heard crossing tiled corridors after closing hours. Measured, unhurried, stopping abruptly when observed. Cold air has been felt in specific waiting areas, isolated and sudden, unaffected by the building's ventilation. Some have described the sensation of being watched from behind, not followed but monitored, as if someone else is still waiting. Union Station was built to move people through the city, to hold them briefly between destinations. But some moments did not move forward. Some believe the station remembers those who left, with futures that never unfolded. That the figures seen on platforms are not arriving or departing, only standing in the space between. And that even now, as trains come and go, the station continues to watch for those who did not return. Perched high above the city, Griffith Observatory was designed to look outward. Stars, planets, the measurable universe. It was also designed as a public space, inviting visitors to step away from the city and contemplate distance and the scale of the world. Below it, Los Angeles expanded relentlessly. The surrounding parkland, now part of Griffith Park, has long been associated with isolation. Over decades, the hills and canyons nearby became sites where people arrived alone. Some seeking perspective, others carrying personal crisis. Not all encounters with the landscape ended safely. Loss here was often quiet, unwitnessed, absorbed by terrain that offered privacy and distance from the city below. Visitors and park staff have reported figures standing along pathways at night, visible only briefly before dissolving into shadow. Footsteps have been heard on stairways after closing hours with no one present. Cold air collects suddenly near the terraces, despite open space and moving wind. Some visitors have also reported the sound of breathing nearby. Close but indistinct, with no one visible when they turn. The observatory was built to look beyond the city, to offer perspective, distance, scale. But beneath it, people came carrying weight they could not measure. Some believe the hill remembers those who stood here, looking outward while feeling unseen. That the footsteps heard at night are not passing through, but lingering. And that while the stars shine above, something below still waits to be acknowledged. Designed as a symbol of luxury, the Biltmore Hotel quickly became a place where public life and private consequence intersected. During periods of economic collapse, war, and rapid urban change, the hotel functioned as a gathering point for people carrying uncertainty. Some displaced, some desperate, some waiting for outcomes that never arrived. Loss here was not marked by disaster, but by disappearance. People fading from records, from rooms, from attention. The Biltmore also hosted galas, political events, and high-profile guests. It became a crossroads between public visibility and private negotiation. Over decades, the hotel became associated with disappearances, closed-door meetings, and unresolved stories that never reached the public. Staff have reported figures moving across upper balconies, voices echoing through empty ballrooms, lights activating in unused rooms. Some describe the sensation of being observed from above, as if standing beneath an unseen audience. Security staff have also reported elevator cars stopping on floors where no calls were placed. Doors opening onto empty corridors before closing again. The Biltmore was designed to impress without revealing. Public spaces grand, private moments concealed. Some believe the building learned how to observe quietly. That when the lights activate in empty rooms, it is not disruption, but recall. A reminder that some decisions never truly concluded. They simply remained inside the walls that watched them happen. Once a centerpiece of downtown entertainment, the Los Angeles Theater was designed for spectacle. Opened in 1931 at the height of Hollywood's golden age, it was built to overwhelm. Ornate interiors, massive chandeliers, and an auditorium meant to make the audience feel small and unified at the same time. It opened during a period when the city still believed in collective experience. Crowded sidewalks, shared premieres, packed auditoriums where strangers sat shoulder to shoulder, watching the same images, reacting to the same moments and breathing in sync as the lights went down. As decades passed, downtown shifted. Audiences thinned, studios relocated. Economic decline altered the surrounding streets. The theater struggled to adapt. Programming became irregular. Maintenance put off. Staff was reduced. For those who worked here, the loss was gradual. A building designed for crowds becoming quiet, one performance at a time. Even as the theater slowed, it did not empty. Seats remained. Curtains stayed hung. The structure preserved the shape of an audience that never returned. Staff and visitors have reported footsteps in upper balconies. Voices whispering from behind the stage curtain. And the feeling of being watched from the seats. Cold air lingers in specific rows as though occupied. Some have also reported the faint sound of applause, isolated, brief, and stopping abruptly before echo can form. The Los Angeles Theater was built to direct attention, to darken the room and focus the gaze forward. When the audience disappeared, the structure remained intact. Some believe the sounds in the balconies are habits, that something still sits here, looking for the lights to rise, and that even when the audiences vanished, what lingered never stopped watching the stage, waiting for the next act. The Cecil Hotel opened in 1924, during a period when downtown Los Angeles was in constant movement. The hotel served travelers, temporary workers, and those passing through the city. A place meant for arrival and departure. As the city expanded outward, downtown began to change. Short stays became longer ones. Movement slowed. Some departures never came. As the surrounding area shifted, the hotel's role shifted with it, becoming associated with long-term transience, economic hardship, and isolation. Over time, the hotel became linked to numerous incidents that drew attention for unsettling reasons. Stories accumulated, not all of them resolved. In 2013, a young woman staying at the hotel vanished without explanation. She was last seen on elevator security footage, alone, behaving erratically, as if reacting to something just off camera. Her disappearance and the circumstances that followed drew global attention, fixing the hotel's name to a moment of vulnerability that never fully settled. In 2017, the building underwent renovation, an attempt to reset its image. Walls were repainted, rooms refurbished, systems updated, but the structure remained. In 2021, the hotel was reopened as a low-income housing complex. Its purpose officially changed. Residents moved in where guests once stayed. Long-term occupancy replaced temporary passage. By 2023, reports described living conditions as deteriorating. Maintenance uneven, spaces worn down again by constant use. The building continued to absorb presence without pause. In 2024, the property was listed for sale, once again, prepared to be redefined. Not emptied, only transitioned. Guests and residents over the years have reported doors opening on their own, voices in empty rooms, and elevators stopping without request. Cold spots linger in hallways, localized and sudden. Some describe the sensation of being observed from behind, not threatened, not followed, simply noticed. Televisions have been reported turning on by themselves, static filling rooms that were left silent. The Cecil was built for passing through. Names checked in, names checked out. Some did not. Repurposing did not resolve it. Sale does not remove it. Some believe the building learned how to watch. Who arrived, who stayed, who vanished without conclusion, even as its purpose kept changing. Once a major medical facility, Linda Vista treated thousands over its lifetime. It served surrounding neighborhoods through epidemics, industrial accidents, and periods of limited resources. For decades, the hospital functioned as a regional safety net, treating patients with limited options. As healthcare systems modernized and funding shifted elsewhere, the hospital began to struggle. Wards closed gradually. Staffing was reduced. Equipment aged. For those inside, the change was not sudden, but cumulative. A sense of working within a system that could no longer keep pace with the needs it faced. Patients continued to arrive during this decline. Some received care in understaffed rooms. Some waited longer than intended. Some did not survive. Loss here was not uncommon. It was procedural. Recorded on charts, absorbed into routine, and carried forward by staff who moved on to the next room. After closure, the building stood empty. Rooms intact, corridors undisturbed. Security personnel have reported lights turning on in sealed wards. Voices heard over intercom systems long disconnected.
Wake up.
And movement through operating rooms after hours. The activity was persistent, a residue of routines that came before. Eventually, after years of slow decay, the structure was repurposed. What was once Linda Vista Community Hospital became Hollenbeck Terrace, a senior living center. Rooms were renovated, hallways reassigned, new routines established. Care returned in a different form, but the building itself was not replaced. Some believe the attention that lingers here does not distinguish between eras, that it learned to watch long before the names changed, and that even as life returned under new purpose, the structure continues to observe quietly. Not as a hospital, not as housing, but as a place that remembers what it once monitored within its walls. Resting beneath palm trees and studio backlots, Hollywood Forever became the final resting place for actors, musicians, and industry figures. Many buried here experienced abrupt endings, careers stalled by injury, illness, or shifts in an industry that moved on quickly. Some died young. Some faded quietly after public attention disappeared. Fame ended here. The cemetery also holds unmarked grief. Family members, crew, and workers whose lives were shaped by proximity to fame without sharing in it. Visitors have reported figures standing between graves, voices carried briefly by wind, and the sensation of being watched during quiet moments. Lights have been seen near mausoleums after closing hours. Some visitors have also described the sound of footsteps on gravel, approaching from behind, stopping when they turn. Hollywood Forever rests beside the city that created its occupants. Images live on elsewhere. Bodies remain here. Some believe the presence felt among the graves is not spectacle, but awareness. That this is a place where attention finally stops moving. No cameras, no performances, only those who were watched in life, now observing a city that continues without them. Los Angeles is a city that decides what is shown, what is framed, what is polished, what is released. But every edit leaves something behind. Moments removed, not because they lacked meaning, but because they didn't fit the narrative. These stories were never erased. They were simply left outside the final cut. And in a city built on watching, what remains unseen does not disappear. It remains unacknowledged, just outside the limelight. Have you experienced anything paranormal in Los Angeles? Let us know in the comments. Like and subscribe for more haunted content. And until next time, have a good night.